Almost every teacher faces a student behavior that seems impossible to decrease or stop, even me. In today's video, I am sharing 3 challenging behaviors that gave me a run for my money and what I did to turn things around. Coming up next. Hey teacher friends, Michelle Holiday here. I am a behavior strategist and I help teachers, schools, districts, and youth-based organizations with systems and strategies on how to manage their students and their learning environments with less stress and less struggle. In today's video, we're talking all about what happens when you're facing these really challenging behaviors that seem impossible to decrease or stop. Well, in today's video, I am sharing 3 different student behavior situations that really gave me a run for my money. I'm going to share what I tried and then what I was able to do to turn things around. So let's start off with situation number 1. So I had this student who would not do any academic work for 6 weeks, meaning he came into class, he was very respectful, he didn't give me any issues, except he wouldn't do his work. So whenever I asked him a question, he would say, no, thank you, very polite. Or if I gave him an assignment, he would just push the assignment to the side, not even on the floor, and just put his head down and wouldn't do it. Even when I asked him to sit up, he actually would sit up, but still not do the work. So here's what I did try. I tried a teacher conference. I tried reducing his work. I tried taking away his privileges. And I even moved him in a seat close to me, inviting him to work with me just to get him started. None of these strategies worked. So what did work, you ask, right? What ended up working was I was able to team with the parent. So at a last straw parent-teacher meeting, we actually were talking about all the things we were trying to do in order to get the student actually working. And so we came up with a plan that really started at home, holding him accountable for things at home that was tied to what he was doing in the classroom. When we implemented that strategy, within a matter of 3 days, we were able to see an instant change in the student's behavior. So what's my takeaway from this? Sometimes parents are the best ally when it comes to getting your students to follow directions or do classroom work. Situation number 2. So I had this student who would avoid my class at all costs. So this was actually a secondary student. We changed classes, and after lunch, he would go what we called out of assigned area and would hide all around the school, refusing to come to my class. And here's the thing, I had never had the student in my classroom before, but when he heard he was changing from one class to my class, I guess he made the decision that he was not going to come to my classroom. Even when staff would bring him to my classroom, the moment the staff left, he would just get up and leave the classroom. So this went on for about 2 to 3 weeks. What ended up working was I actually found the student outside of my classroom and I had a one-on-one conversation with him. It turns out that he was afraid, he didn't use these words, but after talking with him, I was able to deduce that he was afraid of coming to my classroom because it was known as the smart class, which I thought was, quite interesting because it's not really the smart class. And so it was just typical students. And he just didn't want to embarrass himself in my classroom. So we actually made a contract where if I were to teach him it was math, if I were to teach him a specific academic skill that he just knew that he could never do, then he would actually stay in my classroom and try it out. And that's what happened. He agreed to come to my classroom, and I began to slowly work with him to increase his skills so that he was able to achieve his academic goal. And the confidence that he had once he learned this specific skill, it made a huge difference in how he interacted in the classroom as well as with his behavior. So what's the takeaway from this experience? When you feed the need of the student, oftentimes the misbehavior becomes unnecessary. And situation number 3, I had a classroom where 80% of my students refused to work independently. Now, let me get something clear. It's not that they didn't want to work. But what happened was they did not want to work without me standing close by or going through each particular problem with them, ensuring that they would be successful. On one level, this is a good problem to have because they want to do the work, they want to get it right, but they were just afraid to try it on their own. But the problem is, number 1, they were not building their independent skills. And number 2, it was draining me dry. It was draining me of all of my energy just to work with all of these students in different ways every single day. So how did I get them to get out of this dependency cycle they were on? I actually taught a lesson about the value of independent work and why it was important for them to do it. And I know some of you are saying, oh my goodness, they already know. Let me just tell you, a lot of times our students really don't know. And when we don't break it down to a place where they understand and meet them at their level, they're going to continue to buck the system or at least give you a major challenge. So I taught an actual lesson of how to do independent work. We made it interesting. Then we had a guided practice session where we did it together. And then we had an independent session where I set the timer and they did it on their own. And when I say practice, I did not expect them to be perfect. I let them know I didn't expect them to be perfect, but I let them know this is practice. Let's see how it goes. Let's try it out. Let's reflect after. So they were a part of the process. It wasn't just me telling them what to do. We were in this together as a classroom. And now, did everyone comply? No. When you are implementing a behavior strategy, oftentimes you're not going to get 100% compliance the first time. That's okay. It's a part of the process. And it's an opportunity for you to learn who needs more support or guidance. I also make sure to reinforce this behavior for a period of about 3 weeks. After about 3 weeks, I was able to fade away that reinforcer, and then they just began to do it on their own. So what's my takeaway from that situation? Sometimes you need to teach a behavior like an academic lesson. So there you have it, 3 behavioral situations that gave me a run for my money and what I did to solve it. Are there certain behaviors that are giving you a run for your money? Feel free to leave those below. Also share what you did to try to address it or solve it. I would love to hear it, and I will see you at the next video.